Well, hello! Welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to Fluently Fletch. It's been a while. It's like November now. I haven't done a video in a long time. I'm really sorry about that. I just haven't really been thinking about YouTube. I've got a lot on my plate at the moment. So this is my A-level art book video. I already posted two of these videos, a GCSE one and a first year A-level one. But this is my final done and dusted what I got A-level video. So I got an A-star. You know what, I don't know what marks I got, but I'm going to say I got 4 marks because I absolutely love my books. I really, really love them. I know you shouldn't be boastful and it's not a very desirable thing, but I love the books that I created. A-level for me, A-level art, it was such a fun time. I felt so inspired, I felt so creative. And I honestly think my books are some of the best books I've actually ever seen. A-level wise, and you guys be the judge. You tell me if I'm lying. I genuinely really like my books, and I really want you guys to see them, like in my last videos. And if you want to watch my other videos, you can. I've got two. I've got my first year A-level and my GCSE final book as well. So if you like this video, you can go and check them out as well. I can link them down below. But I just really hope you enjoy this video. My topics were, for my personal study, which is a question that you get to choose yourself, it was, how can artists distort the human form using a range of medias, techniques and subject matter? So basically it's distortion, and I wanted to look at meat, and I wanted to look at Jenny Saville, Francis Bacon. I wanted to go down like a darker route, so you're going to see that in a minute. I'm going to show you that book first, and then my second book, which is the set assignment, which is what the exam board, they basically choose a load of questions. You have to just pick a question that you want to do. I chose quite an unconventional one. I think I was the only, I think there's one other person who chose my topic in my class, and that was called chairs. So I just felt really drawn to it. There were other like more accessible topics, but I just thought chairs could be so fun. I thought it would be really interesting, and I actually really enjoyed the topic. I did less work for chairs than I did for my personal study. However, I think I got A-star for both books. Actually, I honestly have no idea, but I got an A-star overall, and that's all that matters. I really hope you enjoy this video. I'm obviously not going to talk because it's very echoey in here. I'll do some audio for you guys. And if you like any of my ideas and want to use my ideas, feel free to do that, girlfriend. You do that. You live your life. You use my ideas. If you don't want to, that's fine. Also, let me know if you don't like my book and give me some critique, because I honestly rate it a lot. So you can give me some things I can improve on if I want to do art again in the future. I love art. So I just really hope you enjoy this video. Without further ado, shall we begin my art book, my final A-level A-star 4 marks art book, 2 books tour. Let's begin. See you soon. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Ciao.
So, how can artists distort the human form using a range of medias, techniques and subject matter? So as we open up, here is my opening sort of title intro page to like give the examiner a vibe of what I want my project to be like. So there's a big distorted head with the question there. It's kind of dark, it's kind of scary. I just wanted to create like a bit of a tone so my examiner goes, oh, this is a bit dark and scary. And then as we open up, there's a big hunk of meat. This is basically my mind map page, but I didn't just want to do a regular mind map, so I've got a big hunk of meat with the question written behind it on the wall, sort of in blood. So I'm kind of trying to create the impression that it's like in a butcher's, and coming off the blood from the meat is my mind map. The words are coming off, so it's got what I want to do, skin, different artists, Fabio Megales, Jenny Saville, and I just wanted to create like a dark tone. I'm all about creating a tone and a sort of vibe of what my project's going to be like, so the examiner has a clear idea from the start. Here are my initial ideas based on secondary research. So basically I went on Pinterest and I got loads of photographs of what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go with it, just so my examiner has a bit of an idea of what I want to do. As we turn it over is my initial reactions. I did about 4 or 5 pages, to some continuous line drawing because they're really easy, some easy little sketches, and then on the right is an acrylic response to like a hunk of meat. Because this project, I was really into meat and animal sort of flesh and kind of distorting the line between human and animal. And as we turn it over, here's some more responses, some more continuous line, and then some pen drawings, like that one there, and some pencil, and some acrylic responses. Just sort of showing my examiner the kind of vibe I want to go down. And then, here we have my first artist research page. I'm really proud of this page. It's Jenny Saville. So this is a response I did to Jenny Saville. I love it, actually. I really love it. It's acrylic using sort of a big thick brush. I love that hand so much. Really proud of how it came out. The colours are really clean, didn't take me too long, and it's just like really shocking and really interesting. I like how I've set this out. There's a bit of artist research down there, but really it's all about that body and I think it's just really great. And then here's me experimenting with Saville. Did some close-ups of some of her paintings, used some acetate plastic paper and Sharpie and pen, just sort of having fun and just going crazy with her work and just taking sort of my own style to it. And at the top right, here's a mixed media response using pencil and pen, just having fun, just have fun with it, just experiment, you know? And then as we turn over, here is another artist called Fabio Megales. He is a hyper-realist artist, and he does sort of bodies and bags. These are all paintings. They don't look like paintings, but they're all like bodies and bags, really dark, really, really gruesome. Then I did my own photographic kind of primary responses to him using my little sister. She's not dead, she's alive, thankfully, and I just used like a plastic bag and bits of red paint for blood. And then here's a few more pictures, and then on the right is a pencil drawing. I'm really, really, really proud of it, actually. It's a response to that photograph just there. That's actually a photocopy. It's not the original pencil drawing because it would just sort of smudge if it was in my book for too long. But I'm really proud. I think it's quite realistic. It took me quite a long time, but it was 100% worth it because it's really important to show the examiner kind of your skill level. Just don't shy away. Just put the effort in, and I'm sure that, I mean, it wowed me. I'm very proud of it. So yeah, I'm really happy I did that. And then here is me combining Jenny Saville style with Fabio Megales style. So sort of using the plastic for Megales and Jenny Saville's use of sort of weird up close compositions. As we turn over, here is me experimenting with some meat. So I went to a butcher's, and if you saw my last video, you'd have seen some of these photos before. Here is me. I use basically PVA glue, and I use paint, and I put it onto like a baking tray, and I basically shove it in the oven. And for these ones, I use sort of different textiles, different fabrics, different bits of plastic to create these like meaty textured pieces. I'm really, really, really happy with them. I think it's just fun to experiment and just to have fun with it. I had so much fun making these. You basically just put it in the oven and it sort of melts it all away and sort of merges it into some fleshy sort of meaty thing. It's really cool. Yeah, that was really fun. Here is me looking at Ken Curry. He's a Scottish artist. He's brilliant. He combines meat and sort of the face. He always looks at illness, and I think his work really, really fits my project because I'm all about combining that line between me and humans to sort of create distortions. That's a painting I did there in response to him. I love it. Here is me looking at some more meat. Obviously inspired by Ken Curry, some pencil drawings and some pen work. And then on the right, here is some etching, because it's really important to experiment with different methods of working. And then under here, that's my little plastic etching that I just put in. Put all your work into your book, just chuck it all in there. Here is a painting that I did a bit more in my style, but inspired by Ken Curry. That is a man's dick, which we love to see. This is me combining meat and the body in my own kind of style. Fun times. And then as we turn over, this is being a bit more abstract and using the images that I used a few pages back and combining them with sort of meat and using different fabrics to sort of create that meaty impression, just to experiment and just to get the ball rolling for my meat development, because that's where I wanted my final piece to go. I wanted to have some element of meat in my final piece. So as we turn over, I am now looking at bones and basically getting more into the human body, and I found a really cool artist on Pinterest and I've used some of her ideas. I think this page is set out really well. It's very colourful, it's very bold. I used some acetate just to do some pen over the top, just to add another layer of detail. And then on the right, I love how this is set out. It's an acrylic painting, and then there's also a pencil response that I did of like the spine. I love how it sort of is stretched out across the whole page, so nothing's too confined. It's all quite open. It's all quite expressive. I really like how those pages are done. Here is some primary images that I took. I bought some meat from the supermarket, and I took photographs of it, and I wanted to respond to them in my book because obviously my book's quite focused around meat. The photographs came out really well. On the right is, down here is my final piece coordinator, just to sort of, it was about halfway through my project and I just wanted to just show my examiner that I was quite organised. Here is just another acrylic response, very thick paint to one of my photographs on the left. And then here's some more primary images, did some painting, some experimentation, and another little pencil drawing down here. Just keep the ball rolling with your pencil drawing because examiners are obsessed with pencil drawings, don't know why, but just keep doing it throughout your project. As we turn over, I love how this is set out. This is an external piece that I did, so it's not a final piece, but it's a piece that was too big to put in my book, and it's like supporting evidence for my project. It looks a bit like a heart. I like how this page is set out. I love the little black cubes. I think it's really cool, and that's my palette that I used for the actual external piece. It's just filling a space really, but it looks really cool. And then in a minute I'll show you the actual piece in the flesh because I've got it at home now. So here it is. It's quite a big piece of paper that I painted it on. In the top left, I've been quite abstract. I used like a ball and basically put paint on it and splattered it down on the page. And then here's just the whole scale of it. Some bits of detail, some bits are quite abstract. That's just like a supporting piece for my project, really. And then as we turn over, we have like a gallery visit. So I went to a few galleries. I went interrailing that year, so I went to about 3 or 4 galleries. I really like how this page is set out. All the images sort of relate to distortion in my project, and I actually made like a whole plan of how I wanted this page to look, because I want it to be quite geometric and quite like strong and quite clear. And then on this little fold out on the right, there are some sketches that I made in the gallery. I didn't actually do them in the gallery, I just did them at home, but I just pretended I did it in the gallery just to show that I was trying to be engaged with the paintings and the work. Maybe the examiner would like that. And then it folds up again. So that's just my gallery visit page. Make sure you have some gallery visits in your books. Here is a double spread on Francis Bacon. I love Francis Bacon, he's probably my favourite artist. He's been in both of my other 2 books, and I think this is probably my most refined response to him. Looking at Bacon using sort of the colour green, some artist research, and then on the right is a response to one of his paintings in a moment. But I didn't put the actual painting next to it, because when you copy a painting and then you put it next to your version, it just makes your version look worse. And I was just like, okay, I'm just gonna not put it next to it, otherwise they're just gonna think I'm a bad painter. But anyway, I love that painting so much. Just don't put the picture next to your response, and the examiner will never know. And then here's another Francis Bacon response on the right, and then some hanging meat on the left. I actually did that in my GCSE, these ones here. But I just put them into my book because I liked them, and it worked. So it all fit kind of together. This is me looking at meat and Francis Bacon. And then on the right is another response to his painting, but I just didn't put his painting next to it, because then it would just make mine look really bad. But I'm really proud of this painting. I think it's really cool, really strong, quite graphic. Just fun, you know, and it's distortion, it's fun, it's Francis Bacon, so that's that. I like those 4 pages. And this is me taking Francis Bacon's method of sort of distortion, like those paintings there, and using them in my own photos. And I use Facetune to basically distort and pull and edit all my images. I love that painting. That's a little abstract painting that I did for one of my photos. And here's some more abstract work inspired by Francis Bacon, but using my own images. So that's when you're sort of combining your own work with another artist. That's sort of showing the development. There's some more images there. I like how these pages are set out. I actually think it's quite professional. And then as we turn over, there's some more. And then at the top left, this is my editing process. I think it's just important just to show the examiner every step that you take. It just gets you more marks, you know. So this is just showing them what I did to get to my final sort of devilish image. Really, really happy with these pages. Really happy I did this. Just showing another level of distortion, you know, creating like a weird, devilly sort of face inspired by Francis Bacon. I had so much fun doing this. That's the after, and then as I turn it over, that's the image before. So, you know, it's really cool just to show like the level of detail that I'm taking it to, just of distortion. I just really wanted to show that through my project. And then on this page, I did another external piece. So it wasn't a final piece, just another piece to support my work. In response to those 3 images there, I did a triptych, because Francis Bacon, he loved a triptych, did many triptychs, which is basically 3 paintings next to each other that all have sort of a linking vibe. And then I'm going to show you in one moment my actual outcome that I did. I love these paintings so much. They're probably my most favourite things that I've ever painted in my life. I'm really, really proud of them. I think they're really cool. There's like a very thick acrylic background with sort of red and blue paint, and then the actual faces are done in detailed sort of acrylic paint. I'm really happy with how they've turned out. Let me know what you think of them, because I'm really proud of them. I've got them hanging up on my wall, actually. I just think they're really scary. They're really demonic, and it's just dark, and it shows that distortion that I wanted to show in my project. That's my favourite one here on the right. I just think it's so creepy, and he's just so pale, and it's just scary. But I think as a triptych they work really well together, and I'm actually really proud of them. This is just a bit of an up close view of my paintings. If you hate them, then I'm sorry. I love them though, so I wanted to show them off to the world. And then in a moment we're gonna go back to the book. So that's my triptych. And then we come back to the book. as we turn it over. This is me slowly walking towards the final piece, but here is me using, basically in my first year, if you've already seen my first year book, you'd have already seen this work. I basically just took out all my work from my first year of A-level because that wasn't actually marked for anything, and I was like, hey, that links to this project, like it's a pig and it's weird, and I'm comparing humans and pigs, that links to my project, so I'm going to put it in. So on these next sort of 4 pages, this is all work that I did the year before. So if you really commit to doing art in the first year, you can use so much of your work in your second year book, because for me anyway, it wasn't graded, so it sort of all worked out really well. That's another little abstract response in response to Ryan Hewitt using paint, and that's me with my long hair. And then as we turn over, there's some more abstract portraiture, and it just worked out really well because it's all sort of distorted, and I was like, hey, I can use this in my final book. So I did. So here's some more portraits, and the examiner will never know this either, so it looks like I did loads and loads of work when really I just stuck it in my new book. Woohoo! Love that painting. And then on the right is a really thick acrylic painting. If you look at it the right way, you can sometimes see a head. I think it's just very abstract. It was just so fun to do those. I remember doing them. I loved it. And then as we turn over, we are working now towards my final piece. But at the moment, this is my project coordinator. So basically, what I was doing on this page was showing the examiner that I knew I'd reached a point where it was basically time to get to my final piece. And I was saying, hey, I'm going to take a step back and just go through what I've already done, my artist inspiration, what I've taken from it so far. Just showing my examiner that I know it's ready to move on now, just sort of creating some structure for my book. And this is called a project tracker. I came up with this little idea. Tracing significant moments through my project to reintroduce previous ideas and enhance my final piece development. So basically I went through my book, taking photographs of important moments and just sort of showing like a timeline of how I've developed from sort of faces to meat, down to sort of animals and abstract portraiture. It's a bit of a page filler really, but it's just showing my examiner, hey, I'm getting towards my final piece now. Let's just take a step back and try and bring things forward again. So this double spread is quite good. Probably got me a few marks actually. And this is we had to do like a mock piece. I didn't actually want to do it, but I was forced to do it, so we did it. And this is just me working towards creating like a mock piece using my images inspired by Fabien Megale's. And then this red pullout is basically my mock coordinator. So it's taking references from my own work that I've done and from other artists and saying, hey, I want to sort of combine all of this to create my final mock piece. So that's sort of taking like a zoom in of paint that I liked and saying I want to do that in my actual final piece. And then it turns over and there's a little sort of rubbishy final plan. I'd basically already done the mock before, so I was just sort of filling a space to talk about it. That's just a photocopy, it's not the actual painting, but that's the outcome. I wasn't too pleased with it was a bit too colourful, but it was a good stepping stone for my final piece. As we turn over, this is me finally working towards my actual final piece with a colour scheme coordinator. So I looked back at my mock piece and I said, hey, there was too much colour there. I'm going to try and solidify and sort of use sort of one colour palette. So that's me doing that here. And then on the right, I did some more meat samples, just sort of getting it in my book, showing them some more development. There's some more meaty textiles. It's so fun to do, really easy. If you wanna know how to do it, just give me a little comment and I'll reply and I'll give you some tutorial tips. But it's just really fun. It's just so creative and it's just textile, and I'm sure the examiner was feeling it like I was. It's so rough and it's just like, it definitely looks a bit like meat, so it links to my project really well, and it's just fun to do, you know. As we turn over, here's me finally getting towards my final piece. For the personal study, there was no final exam. It was just sort of I created the final piece over a 2-week period, and it just I gave myself lots of time so I would be able to perfect it. I did a huge canvas in response to one of my photos that I took earlier on of my younger sister using acrylic paint. And then as we turn over, this is me finally getting towards my final piece. So here is my final piece for my personal study. It was a huge canvas, and I was basically trying to combine my own images, as you saw earlier, with Jenny Saville's style of up-front, up-close, sort of scary compositions. I wanted to have plastic covering the face like the other artists I looked at, and having meat coming off the face as well. I think as a final piece it really brings together all my elements that I've been looking for through my whole project, so I'm really proud of it. It's too big to bring home, so it's still at school, but you let me know what you think about it. It's quite graphic, it's quite bloody. It just and it came together really well. It was actually quite a dream to paint. So that's my first book. So now I'm just going to turn it over and I'm going to show you my second book, which is Chairs. Love it. So, as we move on, this is my second book, Chairs. This, I did actually less work for this. It's a shorter book because there was a final exam for it in the end, but let me just take you through it and you can have a little look. So for my first page, because I wanted to do still like quite a dark, kind of like a mysterious kind of project, I tried to create like a scary first page. So there's a chair, and in the shadow you can see the chairs, and it's all very dark and mysterious. I'm all about setting a tone for the examiner so they have a vibe of where I'm trying to go with it. That's the chair painted in acrylic, and then that's my title page, Chairs. As we turn over, this is my initial ideas based on secondary research. So back onto Pinterest, that's a Andy Warhol painting. I was quite interested in looking at sort of mundane people on the tube, people just sort of like doing their everyday things and how chairs came into play, but I was also quite interested in just melancholy and sadness of empty chairs. There's some meaty stuff there, you know I love a bit of meat. That sounds weird. And then some more Francis Bacon because I love that man, and some more sort of mundane waiting room kind of situations. I thought chairs would be really fun, just looking at sort of the melancholy and sort of unconventional areas of it. There's some waiting room chairs at the bottom, and then as we turn over, here's some initial responses that I did. Down there is a coloured pen response to a chair, and then a watercolour response underneath that. Really cute. Obviously didn't put the actual images next to it, otherwise that would show up how bad I was as an artist. But then on the right here is a acrylic response that I did, just to a chair. Really fun. Got a nice glaze on it, so it's quite shiny. Just sort of creating a little vibe going on there. Don't know what I'm saying, just chatting rubbish. And then as we turn over, here's some more chair responses. That's like a Van Gogh inspired response. Down here is a bit of a sort of 60s mod kind of response. And then up here is a pencil drawing. I love a detailed pencil drawing of a stack of chairs. Really proud of this drawing. It took me a long time. It's really good just to show off what you can do, because the examiner, they don't know who you are. They don't know who you are, and you just got to show off your ability. So I'm really proud of this drawing. It took me a while, but I think it worked out really well. That's just a bit of white rubbing on it. And then that's a little stack of chairs. And then as we turn it over, we start to get into the actual project. So I'm looking at my first artist, who is called Dimitri Cavender. He looks at sort of, I looked at his work and I thought it just showed sort of the mundane, the everyday sort of waiting rooms and just like the kitchen table. So I was like, hey, I really want to respond to that. So I did my own painting. That's an acrylic response. Ignore the white bits. That's just where the page is sort of rubbed off on it. But this is just sort of an acrylic response to him. I just thought it was really interesting looking at the mundane, just sort of the everyday things that people don't really realise and don't really look at too much, and just sort of making it beautiful and colourful. Really enjoyed doing that. As we turn it over, these are me doing my own primary images responding to that artist. So I looked at how he used a lot of colour in his paintings, in his photographs. So I edited a lot of my photographs to be in sort of that bright, using bright colour. And then here's some experimentation I did in response to Cavender. And then that's just my editing process again. There's a lot of similar things to my other book, but once I had a good like sort of formula, I just used it again. Just showing what I did. And then as we turn over, this is me looking at Andy Warhol. I absolutely love how I presented this double spread. I think it's just really, really bright and vibrant. You wouldn't think Andy Warhol would really have anything to do with chairs, but that's until I discovered his electric chair series. He looked at his prints, obviously, but looked at the electric chair in America, because obviously in the 60s and 70s it was quite a big issue going on, like with the death penalty. So, and I just thought that'd be brilliant for my project, because obviously I like the darker side of things, and like the electric chair is very dark and depressing, so I used lino and I created my own lino responses to Andy Warhol. Basically just copied him and just sort of experimented with it, and I had a really fun time doing that. And then on the next page I was able just to make loads of prints, because obviously Andy Warhol loves to use colour, so I was like, hey, let's just print it in loads of different colours. So I just think this double spreads are really vibrant and they're really fun. Also at the same time they're very dark, because it's an electric chair and it's obviously very controversial. And then down there's just a little one that, like a failed response, the one that didn't work. Because it's important just to put in all your work and just to show the examiner that you've developed. And that was like my first one that I did. And then it's just good, it's important to show that you're developing. Here is an artist called Paul Wright. Love his work. He uses such bright colours, and obviously there's lots of chairs in his work. I just thought it'd be really fun to experiment with him, and obviously his work's quite loose and quite expressive, and that's how I like to paint. So on the right, there's a few responses that I did to Paul Wright. Here is one here. It's very colourful, very rich colours. I did it on a piece of acetate, like thick plastic, so you can see it on both sides. I really, really like how it's turned out. It's just very expressive, it's very fun. That's the back of it there. And then here's just another me breaking down Paul Wright and just making it a bit more abstract, a bit more expressive. Just having fun with it, you know, having a good time. I just really like this project. I think it's really fun. And then as we turn it over, this is just me doing a double spread in response to Paul Wright. Basically an artist copy, but I obviously didn't put the artist's image there. I just did my own work because, like I said, don't put the artist's work next to your work, otherwise your work will look rubbish. But that's just a little response. I just love the deep sort of blue tones. I think it's really beautiful. And as we turn it over, here's me looking at David Hockney. He did like a chair series, and I was like, hey, I'm going to respond to that. It's chairs, it works. And I did that in my own sort of way. It didn't really work out very well, but it's just fun to put your work in. Then here's me looking at some watercolour using the same chair, just different materials and experimenting with different techniques. That's me using some metal coil and buttons, just having fun, just experimenting. It's really important to experiment in your work. And then as we turn over, and then as we turn over, here's me looking at the melancholy. I think melancholy and chairs have a real relation, especially empty chairs and what it can kind of show, the message it can give. So here's some examples of the melancholy using chairs. I just think they're really interesting and really sad. And then that's me talking about melancholy, a feeling of pensive sadness, typically with no obvious cause. And then here's me doing a response with the sort of melancholy in mind. I just think they're just sad. They're just really dramatic. They're empty chairs. I just find them really sad. Here's another artist called John Register. Very dreamy. His paintings are all very dreamy and very surreal. And I basically just did a double spread responding to his work. Here's a painting that I did there in acrylic. I like doing paintings across the pages because obviously I've got a very big book, so it's important to show the examiner that you have confidence. Here's me doing some primary photos, working towards my final piece using one of my own chairs and trying to capture the melancholy of an empty chair. Maybe I'm the only one who can see it, but can you see sort of melancholy in empty chairs? I feel like empty chairs they can tell a lot. I was trying to create drama using an empty chair, basically. I think it worked out quite well. Like it's just sad. It sounds just like dramatic. I don't know. Maybe I'm going crazy. Here's just me talking about John Register and how that inspired me to do these responses. And then these are just my primary images that I did. They're quite. I think I'm very proud of them actually. I think they're really cool. They're just sort of weird and strange. I just think they kind of work for my project. And then as we continue, this is me sort of going, hey, which ones am I going to use for my mock piece? That was my favourite image there because I loved the sort of the purple tones and the different sort of colours and how there was dark and light. So basically I use that for my final piece because obviously you have to work towards a final piece for this book. All this book is about is working towards a final piece. So this is my mock piece. This is a piece that I did. It's very different to my final piece, but it's just like, so I had an idea of what I wanted to change, what I wanted to do. Here's me working towards my final piece, my project tracker, like in my last book, showing the examiner where I've come, what I've done through my project, my different sort of themes that I looked down. I did less work for this project, I won't lie. My personal study was a full book. This definitely isn't a full book, but I'm still very proud of the work I did. I think it's all really high quality, so I think it's just important to show the examiner sort of, hey, I'm working towards my final piece now. This is sort of the next steps. This is me deciding which images to use for my final piece. So I had 3 images that I wanted to come down to and just basically do the pros and cons of each image, just showing the examiner that I'm taking care to consider my next steps, just because it's just important just to show that you've got structure to your project. And then as we turn over, you won't see my final piece in this book. I'm going to do a separate video for that in a moment. This is just me doing my final piece plan. I brought this into my exam so I could just look back and there's some Polaroids I took of chairs. This is just me saying what I would change and what I want to do different in my final piece. And then on the right, presented very poorly, is just me saying I sketched out my final piece on a canvas, and then as we turn it over, that's basically the end of my book, but then this is my final piece that I did on a canvas. It's a bit more painterly than my mock piece. Really proud of it. The colours, that was in like a 12-hour exam. It's obviously quite small, but it's just quite refined painting. Really proud of it. That's the final piece, and that's like the end of the project. That's the end of the book. Bye! Well then, that's my book done, guys. So I really hope you enjoyed this video. I loved my art book so much, and I'm so happy that you guys can be able to, sorry, I just burped. You guys are able to see them and you look at them and feel inspired by it. Honestly, these were my favourite. These are my favourite things that I've ever done actually, that I ever painted. I just really love these so much. They're me. Yeah, like it's amazing because I can just keep these forever, and like I just
And I'm not boasting it, I just really love what I did. I'm very proud of myself. I can keep these forever. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and you're not going to see me for a while. I'm going to be in France, working in a chalet, getting drunk, having a good time. So I really hope you enjoyed this video, and like and subscribe, come here, come to my channel, come check out my videos. I'm sure I'll have some more when I get back, but for now, this is a goodbye for a few months. So thank you for watching, and see you later. Mwah.